The future of AI music tools hinges on two critical developments happening behind the scenes: the alleged Microsoft OpenAI integration and the full stack competition between OpenAI and Google. Stay with me, I'll keep it all straightforward, but this is an interesting one. So today's video draws on an excellent analysis from the Whiz of AI Instagram account. So if you're looking for accessible, great breakdowns of major AI developments, and I know all of you are, I highly recommend following their work. Now, regular viewers know I've covered the Suno lawsuits, the broader AI music debate, how composers can leverage these tools constructively and safely and legally, but today we're examining the foundational infrastructure that rarely gets discussed. It's the future of AI music tools and the issue with Microsoft and OpenAI and their merger that's not a merger, and the big full stack competition between Google and OpenAI. So I'll try to keep this straightforward and relevant regardless of your technical background. So Elon Musk has filed a lawsuit against OpenAI, and it really centers on a significant allegation that Microsoft and OpenAI have effectively merged without formally declaring it as a merger. What does this mean in practical terms? Just think of two companies operating so interdependently that one essentially directs the other's operations while avoiding the label of acquisition to circumvent regulatory oversight. And that's what's happening. The key facts: Microsoft has invested $14 billion in OpenAI, and now they hold approximately 27% of OpenAI's equity. That's over a quarter. That's a controlling interest. A Microsoft VP maintains position on OpenAI's board, and Microsoft has secured exclusive rights to OpenAI's technology through the year 2032. So typically, this degree of integration triggers government review. However, by structuring it as a partnership rather than a merger, they've avoided that scrutiny. So why should musicians care? Well, OpenAI powers ChatGPT, and the underlying technology eventually flows into AI music tools such as Suno, Udio, etc. So this relationship creates specific dependencies. OpenAI operates entirely on Microsoft's Azure cloud infrastructure. Microsoft gets 20% of OpenAI's revenue. And all OpenAI products must run on Microsoft's platform. That's a serious dependency. So let's do some quick clarifications here on cloud computing and Microsoft Azure. Think of cloud infrastructure as gigantic data centers filled with servers. AI models require these computing resources to operate and function. Microsoft owns Azure, one of the largest cloud platforms in the world, meaning OpenAI essentially leases all of its operational capacity from Microsoft continuously. They are dependent upon Microsoft to exist. So now let's examine a more consequential battle: OpenAI, the brains behind ChatGPT, versus Google. This competition will determine who controls AI infrastructure in the future. Now, this isn't simply about which model performs better. It's about ownership of hardware, infrastructure, and the ability to deliver AI services efficiently and affordably. Now, in AI, there's these things called tokens. A token represents a small unit of text, and these services charge based on the number or the volume of tokens that are processed. So the lower that the tokens cost, that translates directly to a more affordable AI service. You pay more for your tokens, it's going to cost more for the service. You pay less, it's going to cost you less. So now we've also got some specialized chips. Lots of you have probably heard about GPUs, but Google has developed TPUs, tensor processing units. These are custom designed specifically for AI workloads. They're optimized for efficiency and cost. But OpenAI relies on NVIDIA and their GPUs, which are powerful but significantly more expensive. So Google, cheaper processing; OpenAI, much more expensive. So what's OpenAI's current position? OpenAI is not doing well financially. Their operating expenses are around $8.5 billion a year, and they've got projected losses of $7 billion this year. They're completely dependent on Microsoft infrastructure, and their revenue is concentrated in one primary product, ChatGPT. They've got substantial costs for the computational resources that I mentioned above, and an increasingly expensive business model. Meanwhile, Google's just cruising. They've got substantial capital and cash reserves. They've got their proprietary chips, the TPUs. They own their server infrastructure. They own their cloud platform. AI deployment across their entire ecosystem. It's not just ChatGPT. Google has Search, Google Android, YouTube, Chrome, Google Workspace, Pixel devices, and Google Cloud. So the fundamental difference is that Google owns its entire technology stack, while OpenAI rents the infrastructure it needs. Doesn't own it, it rents it. In other words, one company retains its profits, Google, the other burns through its capital, OpenAI. So this economic reality is why developers are gradually migrating from OpenAI to Google. Not necessarily because Google Gemini outperforms ChatGPT, and the most recent version does apparently, but because it's substantially more cost effective to implement Google than it is ChatGPT. So who cares? Here's what matters for working musicians and composers like us. AI music platforms like Suno and Udio run on large language models that require enormous computational resources. And control over this infrastructure determines several critical factors: pricing structures, access to tools, rate of innovation, which companies remain viable, which platforms receive ongoing support, and then, of course, available features and capabilities. Now, if Microsoft and OpenAI, ChatGPT, dominate, you can expect higher operational costs passed on to us, the users, reduced market competition, fewer new AI music startups, maybe that's not bad, I don't know, tools locked into the Microsoft ecosystem, and more restrictive platform policies. But if Google dominates, you can expect more competitive pricing, lower barriers to entry for new companies, greater developer freedom to innovate, and more diverse options for musicians. But there's always that whole Google privacy thing, which the two words don't go together. Market competition drives better tools and pricing. Consolidation typically means fewer choices, higher costs, and slower innovation. So when you evaluate emerging AI music tools or follow the legal developments involving Suno and major labels, remember this particular context. The decisive battle isn't happening at the application level. It's occurring in the infrastructure layer, where Microsoft, OpenAI, Google, and NVIDIA are competing for control. The outcome will determine what tools exist, how much they cost, and the extent to which musicians can innovate. So I want to say thanks again to the Wiz of AI on Instagram for their insightful analysis. So follow them for more great breakdowns of AI developments. If you found this video valuable, please like and subscribe. We'd love to hear your comments. Which AI tools are currently supporting your workflow? What would you like to see in the future of AI music technology? Do you want it to go away? It's not going to. So until then, go make something great.